Let the games begin.
And hello everybody, and welcome to the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host, Christian. Thank you very much for joining me on the podcast this week. Oh boy, do we have a podcast this week. We have a lot of things to get to this week, so we're just going to get right into it. Before that, obviously, hello, my name is Christian. I am the host of the Movie Pit Podcast, where we talk about all the latest breaking movie news and trailers and movies that are coming out this weekend for all your viewing pleasures. So let's get right to it. Like I mentioned, we got a lot of stuff to get to this week. So let's start off, like we always do, with trailer talk.
Coming soon to theaters.
So this week's trailer talk is going to be pretty interesting because we have a lot of the Super Bowl spots. Of course, the Super Bowl was last Sunday, and we have a lot of course, first looks of trailers that came out. We also have extended full trailers of TV spots that came out, and then we have new trailers that came out this week that we'll obviously have to get to. So I'm going to start off with the two Super Bowl spots that didn't get full trailers, and that was A Quiet Place, which is the new movie with John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, and of course the Avengers Infinity War Super Bowl spot. So A Quiet Place TV spot, it actually played during the right before kickoff, so during pregame, and we get a little bit more. We get some new footage from the movie, and it starts off with Emily Blunt's character. It looks like maybe in a warehouse of some sort, and she sees a bunch of different TVs with all these different news stories going on. So, and they're all kind of teasing something like, something's going on, and there's been attacks of all these places. So it's a very interesting way that they're framing I assume that's going to be the beginning of the movie. It's a very interesting way they're framing it. And for those of you that don't know about A Quiet Place is actually directed by John Krasinski, which is kind of cool. But John Krasinski stars with his real-life wife, Emily Blunt, and they pay a family with two kids, and they're out in the pretty much middle of the nowhere, in the woods, in the forest, and they have to be quiet because apparently there are these monsters. And we get a very little brief tease at the end of the Super Bowl spot that attack you if you make any sort of sound. So, right, pretty much off that premise, I was pretty much hooked right away. So, like I mentioned, we get a very, very quick look at what the monster could be like and what it could possibly look like. At the end of the TV spot, it looks like there's one of the kids is, well, maybe it looks he's inside a silo of some sort. At least that's kind of how they framed it. I don't know if that's obviously going to be the case in the final version of the movie, but he looks like he's in this silo, and the monster kind of jumps behind him. So I'm all for the movie. A Quiet Place, I didn't write down the release date because I'm a dum-dum, but I believe it comes out fairly soon. We don't have to wait too long for that one. I think it's April, or not April. I think it's a March. Oh, no, actually, yeah, no. I think it's a March or April movie. But so we don't have to wait too long for that one. So very quick to the point kind of TV spot there. The other quick and to the point TV spot was the Avengers Infinity War Super Bowl spot. And it just continues to build up all these, just all the movies that have happened so far. It's 10 years of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that we've been invested in, and this kind of just plays up to that fact. It's like all these heroes coming together, and it's just so awesome. We get some brand new footage. We see a closer look at Thanos in the movie, of course, played by Josh Brolin, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But we get this great shot of him. It looks like he has scars on his face, just overly awesome. And there's this one shot in the spot that everyone's been going crazy at since, and still to this day they're still going crazy for it. There's a shot of Captain America, of Scarlet Witch in the front, and then there's Vision in the back, and then there's someone behind Cap, and everyone is going crazy trying to figure out who that is. And a lot of people are saying that it could be Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. Now, here's my little tidbit in who it is, I don't think it's Captain Marvel. I think it's Wanda. Because if you look at Vision looks pretty beat up. He's holding like his side, he's holding his ribs area, and he doesn't have the stone on top of his forehead. Obviously, in the trailer, it looks like he's being attacked and it looks like his stone is being ripped out of him. So I think that is maybe the scene after that. So I think that's the scene after it, and I think the person standing behind Cap is actually Wanda. If it is Captain Marvel, I will be totally on board with that. I'll totally just be all of Marvel for keeping her a secret this long. We know she's going to be... I don't think there's been confirmed that she actually is in Infinity War. I think even Kevin Feige himself has said that she's not going to be in Infinity War. So I don't think that they would show a post-credit scene in a trailer, let alone a Super Bowl spot. So I'm pretty sure that's Wanda. But, again, we can dream. So let's see what happens with that. So let's move on to the other trailers. All of these are pretty much the full-length trailers. Like I said, some of the Super Bowl spots ended up getting full-blown trailers pretty much like right after the game ended, or during the game, or the day afterwards. So the first one we're going to talk about is Skyscraper, and that is the new movie with Dwayne Johnson. So the movie is based off an original idea by the writer and director of the movie, Rawson Marshall Thurber, who has directed Dodgeball and We're the Millers. So he's kind of making the move over to action. He also directed Central Intelligence with The Rock and Kevin Hart. And it stars Dwayne Johnson as a former FBI hostage rescue team leader who now works assessing security for skyscrapers. And while on a new assignment for the tallest building in the world, an attack happens, and his family and everyone in the building is at risk. Now, that is what we get from the trailers. If you read the synopsis online, they add in another layer saying that he has to clear his name after being framed for something. So we don't get any of that in the trailer, so it'll be intriguing to see how they play that into the movie itself. Maybe they're blaming him for the attack on the building itself, or something else entirely that we have not seen in the trailers. So how that's going to play out is interesting, but obviously the trailer is out, and we're going to talk just about what we saw there. The movie looks kind of interesting. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, his character is a little different from what we've seen before. He actually is an amputee. He has a prosthetic leg in the movie that they focus on a lot in the trailer. So obviously there's that added layer to his character and how he's gonna do that, how he's gonna move around and be the Rock basically in this movie. But the trailer itself is okay. I do think The Rock's in. I'm most likely going to go watch. So, but for the trailer itself, it's just okay. I know a lot of people have been having fun with the poster that came out, trying to figure out where The Rock is going to land, and how it's impossible for him to land where he is jumping off a scaffold to the building. But that's just people having fun. But the trailer itself is just okay. I don't know. There was just something that wasn't. I don't want to say necessarily not in getting me invested. Just I lacked a certain umph, I guess. But again, it's The Rock. I'm gonna go watch it. It's probably gonna be one of those real just go in and have yourself some fun kind of movies. So Skyscraper opens on July 13th. We'll obviously be talking more about that once we get closer to the release date. So let's move on to the other Super Bowl spot that got a bigger trailer, in this case a teaser, that is Solo, a Star Wars story. So the film stars Alden Ehrenreich. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I think I've heard someone else pronounce it differently, but Alden Ehrenreich is how I pronounce it, so we'll just go with that. As a young Han Solo on his early adventures with Chewbacca and Lando Calrissian, of course played by Donald Glover in the movie, and how the Millennium Falcon came into his being Han's possession. The film, of course, went through a lot of behind-the-scenes troubles. We've talked about them here on the podcast. Of course, having a new director after the old directors got fired with 3 weeks left in production. That's still ridiculously dumb and mind-numbing to me. But there was also, of course, extended reshoots being done with the movie. Ron Howard is, of course, the new director of the movie. Also, the lack of footage and promotional material up until now had a lot of fans worried because we got our first look during the Super Bowl, which is of course the 30-second TV spot, but now we have a longer teaser. And honestly, there was a lot of talk about how the movie was going to play out because fans were really worried, and we hadn't seen anything, and there was the news that broke out that we hadn't seen anything from Han Solo because Disney and Lucasfilm wanted Star Wars: The Last Jedi to finish its theater run before they started promoting Han Solo or Solo. And that was the news on that came out last week that we talked about briefly on the podcast. But now we got stuff, and now it looks like they're promoting it like crazy. So hopefully fans can get behind that if anything. But for the teaser itself, I don't know how to feel. Aesthetically, it looks very different from how I imagined. The cinematography is way different. I didn't imagine it looking like that. So aesthetically, visually, it looks different than I imagined, and I kind of like the way it's looking. Then again, the whole concept of a standalone Han Solo movie isn't necessary. Of course, that is the main question. Is it necessary? Do we need an actual origin Han Solo movie? I don't know. People don't seem to think that. I'm one of those people that didn't seem to think that. Of course, I was game for it when Phil Lord and Chris Miller were doing it because they have an established record. Of course, Ron Howard also has a very big established record, but Ron Howard is not the same director as Phil Lord and Chris Miller, so there is that. Hopefully the movie is good. I hope the movie is good. I don't walk in hoping that a movie is bad, but from what I've seen from the teaser, I'm very split, and I'm leaning more toward having. I'm not even leaning toward. I'm just having a very mixed reaction. I'm very in the middle. It could be good. It could not be good. I am optimistic that it hopefully is good because I don't want to watch a bad Star Wars movie anymore. So let's hope that's the case. Emilia Clarke, by the way, has a interview where she talks about her character in the movie. So I'll link that down below in the description / show notes area, so you can go check that out. Kind of gives some insight on what her character is and what she means to Han in the movie itself. So Solo opens on May 25th, very soon, Memorial Day weekend. So we'll be definitely talking about that once we get probably a full trailer, and of course once the movie comes out. So let's move on to the last Super Bowl spot. Actually, no, second to last Super Bowl spot, because we have Mission Impossible to get to. But let's talk about Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. So the film sees Claire, played by Bryce Dallas Howard, convincing Owen, played by, of course, Chris Pratt, to return to the island to rescue the dinosaurs on the island when a deadly volcano threatens to destroy not only them, but the island itself. Of course, there's probably more stuff going on. Obviously, this trailer really gives us an insight of what's going on, because this teaser, by the way, just shows off that the movie is going more of the horror, darker tone route. This trailer really pushes that point in the first 10 seconds, because the first 10 seconds of the trailer is a dinosaur in a little girl's room reaching out to her, and she's, terrified. So that really just pushes the point, and that's really, I think, if you're really going to push the point of this being, kind of a more darker and more horror tone of a movie, which the writer of the movie, Colin Trevorrow, who of course directed the first movie, has been teasing all along, then I think that was a good way to establish that. The trailer itself, the teaser, whatever you want to call it, we see a lot more dinosaurs. We see a brief tease of yet again another new dinosaur that was designed and made, because apparently these people haven't learned their lesson of stop creating new dinosaurs. But we see, I think that's the dinosaur that's in the first 10 seconds that's scaring the crap out of the little girl. So I think that's the dinosaur that they've created, because it also has a little raptor in it, the little callback to the first Jurassic Park movie where it's tapping its nail, on the floor. So we see some more blue. Blue was, of course, in the movie. Of course, blue being the raptor that Owen's or that Owen raises. But so the teaser's great. I thoroughly enjoyed Jurassic World. I've been looking forward to this one. Colin Trevorrow, again, going back to him and what he's already teased about the project. When the first trailer came out, he said that everything that we saw in that trailer was from the first half of the movie. So that's saying a lot, and I'm pretty sure we get little bits and teases of the second half in here. But what we see in the teaser right now, I think it's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. The new director J.A. Bonet, I think that's how you pronounce his name. I always mispronounce his name, but he's taking over the director's chair. He's directed The Orphanage, The Impossible, and A Monster Calls. I think him adding in his own little flair for Jurassic World, I think is really, really cool. So Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom opens on June 22nd. Again, we'll obviously talk more about Jurassic World once we get closer to the release date. Alright, so let's move on to the final Super Bowl spot that came out that, again, got a full-blown trailer afterwards, and that is Mission Impossible Fallout.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it. I wonder, did you ever choose not to? The end you always feared is coming. And the blood will be on your hands. The fallout of all your good intentions.
You had a terrible choice to make in Berlin. One life over millions. And now the world is at risk.
This is the CIA's mission. If he had held on to the plutonium, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
His team would be dead.
Yes, they would. That's the job.
Down with the victims. We both know you need them. Stuck in the middle of all irrelevance.
You don't understand what you're involved in.
You need to walk away.
Please don't make me go through you.
How many times has Hunt's government betrayed him, disavowed him, cast him aside? How long before a man like that has had enough?
You can't fight the friction. So you can't take the pressure. So
Ethan, that's not who we are.
Maybe we need to reconsider that.
Now, of course, Fallout took a bit of a bump on the road to getting it made. Of course, we all know about Tom Cruise getting injured during a stunt, and they actually used the shot of him getting injured in the trailer, and they're going to use that shot in the movie itself, at least according to the writer and director Christopher McQuarrie. So they're going to use that, and they're still sticking to the release date, which is amazing. But as for the trailer itself, it's pretty damn good. I mean, I was not expecting it to be that good, and I'm a huge fan of the Mission Impossible movies, and I think that they have gotten better and better as they go on. Part 2 was a little, but anyway, I mean, part 2 is good when it's good, and then when it's not good, it's not that good. But there's something just to say about the franchise that keeps getting better and better with every installment, and Fallout looks no different. And Fallout also feels like a different movie, and that's something that McQuarrie has kind of teased. As you know, as they're starting to finally promote the movie, we sure see the crazy stunts in the movie. I mean, this thing is filled back to back with crazy stunts, and just keeps hitting you over and over again. We see that brutal bathroom brawl. It looks like Ethan and Henry Cavill's character are either working together or they're fighting, and it looks like other people get involved. It just that scene is just, ooh, yeah, that was a good scene. But it also looks like Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt's actions are coming back to haunt him, even making the point that maybe Hunt is the dangerous one. And he's the one been taking people down, and it looks like all his good intentions are coming back to harm him. And it almost kind of feels a little bit that maybe they're kind of teasing that this is going to be the last one. I know it's not going to be the last one, but it kind of feels that way, and it kind of feels like, hey, maybe this will be the movie where we, write off Ethan Hunt's character. And it kind of feels like that from the trailer. Obviously, they're probably not going to do that because Tom Cruise is going to do these movies until he's probably 90. That's what it looks like anyway. So it looks pretty cool. I mean, they really drive that point in the trailer. You hear Henry Cavill's speech of him saying, how many times has his government, disavowed him and left him for dead and all of this. How long before, a man like that just finally breaks and had enough. So that they're kind of, leading, they're kind of really building this thing up where maybe he's gonna just go rogue again. So this is kind of cool. So I'm really looking forward to this. We also get a little tease of Michelle Monaghan coming back. Of course, she's Ethan Hunt's wife. She was introduced in the third movie, and then she hasn't really been around. So her coming back is a real big, hopefully a real big plot point, and not just she's around again. No, they're probably not gonna do that, but hopefully that's not what they do. So I really like this trailer, by the way. This is probably one of my best trailers of the year so far. I must have watched it like 10 times. It's just one of those trailers that really just grabs you. So if you have not seen it yet, please go watch it. So Mission Impossible Fallout opens on July 27th. This summer is going to be packed to the gills, ladies and gentlemen, and I cannot wait for it. So July 27th is when Mission Impossible Fallout opens. But we are not done with trailers. No. We have two other teasers to get to. So the next teaser we're going to talk about is the first teaser for Sony Pictures' Venom.
Everyone's got their thing. Maybe it's a breakup, a death, an accident. Whatever it is, you used to be one thing. Now, you're something else. We all have our own problems. Our own issues. Our own... demons.
So the timing for this teaser is a little weird because the movie doesn't open until October, and they just finished filming literally like 2 weeks ago. So fair warning for any of you who have not seen the teaser yet and just know about this now, there is no actual Venom character footage in the teaser. Details on the plot are pretty thin as well, but we do know the film will take inspiration from two comic book arcs, Lethal Protector and Planet of the Symbiotes. And if you don't know anything about Venom as a character or don't know anything about those arcs, I recommend you go at least read the quick synopsis of what those arcs are. Those are actually two. If you ask any Venom fan who reads the comics, I think those two will be the ones that pop out to them as well. Now, the character of Venom, for those of you that don't know, is connected to Spider-Man in many ways, more than one. Venom is actually an alien symbiote that latches on to Peter Parker. If you see Spider-Man 3, then you know what I'm talking about. For those of you who don't know, it's an alien symbiote that latches on to Peter Parker, and when Peter is able to finally get it off of him, it latches on to his newspaper rival, Eddie Brock. And when it attaches to Eddie Brock, it turns him into the famous and, of course, fan favorite character of Venom, who is basically just a more aggressive and monster of a character than Spider-Man. He has all of Spider-Man's abilities, just more aggressive and has rage. He's pretty much filled with a lot of rage. However, Sony decided to not connect this movie with the Spider-Man films, of course, Tom Holland's Spider-Man films, although there's rumors saying that maybe Tom Holland will appear, but I don't know if that's the case. I think I just read something before I started recording, where it said that I think the Twitter page, I didn't see it, but apparently the Twitter page teases something about Peter Parker showing up. I don't know. So there's rumors that maybe Tom Holland will appear in some way, one way or another, whether he appears as Spider-Man himself or as if he appears just as Peter Parker. But the rumor is that Tom Holland may be appearing in the movie. So I don't know if that's true or not. We'll obviously have to wait and see if that is the case. Either way, obviously fans are keeping this film under a microscope, and it should be intriguing to see how Sony pulls this off. Because you can't really have Venom without Spider-Man. You really can't. I mean, especially not as a first or origin movie, if this is what you want to call it. As for the teaser itself, though, it's okay. It's a teaser. Again, the timing is a little weird since they just finished filming, and I know a lot of fans are disappointed that there was no actual Venom tease in the movie. Either way, I'm interested in seeing how it works. But the teaser itself is okay. It does its job. It's a teaser. It is supposed to tease you. And I don't think... And again, they just finished filming 2 weeks ago. The CGI for Venom is probably nowhere near complete. And I don't know about you, but I would rather see a finished CGI of Venom than a incomplete CGI Venom. Because, you know, if they showed an incomplete CGI Venom, everyone would be bitching online like they are right now. And people probably have a reason to bitch. But the teaser itself is fine. It's okay. It does its job as a teaser. You do see in the teaser, I like Tom Hardy, by the way. Tom Hardy's a great choice to play Venom. You do see in the teaser at the very end, Tom Hardy looks like he's fighting back something, and you can see, if you pay attention to his neck, there's these these black veins kind of coming out from his neck. So it looks like they're kind of going the body horror route a little bit. There are some interesting shots throughout the movie. We do see the actual alien symbiote very quickly, like around the middle part of the trailer. It looks like it's in like this, not necessarily like a vial, but it's in this container, and there's a bunch of people behind it. So that's kind of cool. And it looks like they're kind of playing the body horror aspect a little bit. Tom Hardy's or Eddie Brock's character is in a hospital at some point, so it looks kind of interesting. But there's some interesting shots in the teaser. There's some shots where Eddie Brock is on a bicycle and he's being chased by some cars, and some cars kind of flip over. There's a very interesting shot of, it looks like, I don't know if it's like I don't know where it is, but it's somewhere, and there's a bunch of computers around and a bunch of people around, and all of a sudden they just kind of get whooshed away. So I don't know if it's just a shot where there's incomplete CGI, or if they're suggesting that Venom has some sort of psychic powers or something. I don't know what's going on. Obviously, again, it's just a teaser. We don't know what the hell's going on. We're not supposed to know what the hell's going on, so I'm okay with this. So Venom, I am very cautiously optimistic. I'm a huge fan of the Venom character as well, but I, as opposed to a lot of other fans who just denounced this movie right away, am very intrigued to seeing how Sony pulls this off. So like I mentioned, Venom comes out in October 5th, to be more precise. We'll probably get a full-blown trailer probably around Comic-Con. I think that would probably be an appropriate place to release it, but that's just me guessing. So we'll have to wait and see what's going on with Venom. Alright, let's move on to our last teaser or trailer, I guess if you want to call it that, or whatever you want to call it. I'm saying it's a teaser. That's what I'm going with. So we're going to go with our last teaser of the day, which is for Deadpool 2. And it showcases a lot of Josh Brolin's Cable.
I was born into war, bred into it. People think they understand pain, but they have no concept of it. What's the most pain you've ever felt? Maybe the kind that leaves you more machine than man.
Wait, no, stop! What in the actual ass? Dale, why are the visual effects not done? It's a metal arm. It's not like we're trying to remove a mustache. Ah, fuck it. I'll do it myself.
I'm Cable, and I'm from the future, and I like blowing shit up.
Pew, 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 pew. Reach for the sky!
Oh no, Sheriff Deadpool.
You know, you're a lot taller in the...
Shut up, you little asshole. Take this.
Oh! Regeneration powers, activate!
That's not something you say.
Zip it, Cable!
I got the stunts to help you.
No! No biting. They're done already? Oh, wow, that was unrealistically fast. Okay, hit it.
Your time's up, you dumb fuck.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
So a new teaser trailer, whatever you want to call it, has been released for Deadpool 2, and it showcases Josh Brolin's Cable. The trailer pretty much starts off with him, and then there's this really cool little tidbit in very Deadpool fashion. So it's him and his characters coming out. We don't see his arm at all until this little bit, and it just starts off with Cable's narration, and he's talking about the world he basically lives in, and it's this dark, gritty kind of feeling, and all of a sudden his arm comes into frame, and it's all green. And of course Deadpool pops up, and he takes a jab at Justice League, saying, it's not like we're removing a mustache, and it pops, and it cuts to him sitting down. He's playing with these toys, and he's making more knocks at everything. He's knocking Toy Story. He's knocking. I think he's also not. I think there's a point where he doesn't knock on it, but he mentions Infinity War, or he's playing with Cable's doll. He's like, I need, where are the stones? And of course, in Deadpool fashion, he does a very vulgar joke, but it's great. It's just a great little teaser. We do see a lot of Cable in this, and people have been saying, where's Cable? Where's Cable? Why are you hiding Cable? And you get a lot of Cable in here. So we see his arm, we see him use it, which is awesome. We see the eye. It's just a cool teaser. We get a lot of quick, and even though this is another teaser for the trailer, or another teaser for the movie, we don't know what the movie's about. So I think we're assuming that maybe Cable is after Deadpool, and we kind of get that a little bit with the scene at the end where Cable shows up at Deadpool's apartment. So maybe he's after Deadpool for something. Maybe he's needs his help, or maybe Cable thinks that he's a criminal of some sort, because it does look like they end up in a prison at one point. So it's interesting to kind of see how they play the relationship between Cable and Deadpool, and why they're working together at all in the first place. But it's kind of cool. So we do see a little bit more action tidbits. We see a little bit more of Domino, of course, played by Zazie Beetz in the movie. We see another shot of Negasonic Teenage Warhead, of course, played by Brianna Hillebrand. We see Morana Baccarin's Vanessa in here. Blind Al's back. Dopinder in a new shot. And we even see Julian Dennison, who is from The Hunt for Wilder People, in the movie. He's flicking someone off, and it looks like he has something on his neck. So we don't know who he's playing. I think there were some rumors that people kind of knew who he was playing, but we don't know. There is another interesting shot, though, of Deadpool in what looks like a helicopter, or like a jet, and he has Domino on one side and a bunch of other people on the other. And since that shot has come out, everyone's kind of assuming that maybe that is the early X-Force. And if you look, Zazie Beetz is on, I think, Deadpool's left or right. I can't remember exactly which one it is. But she's on one side, and on the other side, it looks like Terry Crews is next to Deadpool. So I don't know what's going on there. Again, people are assuming that maybe it's their version, or at least the first version of X-Force. We don't know what's going on there. Of course, we do know that this is going to eventually lead to an X-Force movie, so maybe this is their tease for it. Obviously, we don't know what's going on, since we don't know what the movie's about, but I, for one, am still excited for it. And this is the reason why I'm saying it's probably a teaser, it's probably a trailer. First of all, it's a red band trailer, because there's a lot of swearing in it. But the other reason is because it was announced that we would be getting a new trailer next week, around Valentine's Day. So I'm assuming that maybe we'll get a green band version of this around that time. There is going to be a trailer connected to Black Panther next week as well. So I assume that maybe this is kind of just a build-up to a full-blown trailer, which is fine. I mean, obviously, I think the more we see of Deadpool, I think it'll be great. But, we don't want to see all of it. But still, I think a lot of fans are really excited for this. So I think any footage they can get their hands on, people are going to be excited. So, like I mentioned, I think we'll probably see another trailer of some sort, maybe an official green band trailer next week around Valentine's Day, which I think was rumored, but there is going to be a trailer connected to Black Panther. So we'll see what happens with that. Deadpool 2 will come out on May 18th. So there you go. All right. Oh man, That was a lot. That was a lot of teasers and trailers that came out this week. This week it was really big on everything. There are even trailers that I didn't get to. There's a new Melissa McCarthy movie trailer, Life of the Party. That was another one that came out. Amy Schumer's new movie, I Feel Pretty. They released the trailer this week. There's a Red Band trailer for Death Wish, the new Bruce Willis movie. That's, of course, a remake of the old Death Wish. That was in a grindhouse fashion. I think there's another trailer that came out this week too. All those trailers, the links to all these trailers and those trailers that I didn't get to talk about are down below in the description / show notes area. If you haven't seen any of them, or you want to see all of them, or you want to see them again, links down below. So that's it for trailer talk. Let's move on to, of course, this week's movie news.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
So before we get to the movie news, I do want to mention we're not going to talk about all the movie news that came out this week. Obviously, I don't always do that. There are movie news items that I do leave up on the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/moviepit. There's a link down below in the description / show notes area if you want to go check that out. But we don't talk about all of them, so I will briefly mention some big news items that we didn't get to talk about or that got cut out of this week's podcast are Jumanji 3. They hired some new writers, and there's a cast update on that. Also, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's newest film spurred a bidding war, and just before I started recording this podcast, it landed on a studio. So go check that out. If you hear crunching in the background, that is my cat playing with one of his toys. So let's move on to the movie news items that we will talk about this week. The first one being that David Goyer has dropped out of Masters of the Universe. So the new adaptation of Masters of the Universe has lost yet another director. Reports say that David S. Goyer, I don't know why I said that. That sounded weird. David S. Goyer. I'm not going to edit that out, by the way. He was, of course, the writer of the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. He's written a lot of comic book movies. He's directed a few movies here and there, like The Unborn, which came out a handful of years ago, probably more than that. But he was in serious talks to direct the movie. He was already an executive producer on the movie. He also wrote a rewrite of the script for the movie. He has left the project due to scheduling issues. So apparently Goyer had turned in a draft of the script last fall. Again, he's still an executive producer. I think he's still an executive producer. The wording of some other reports was a little weird. But he is, anyway, the script that he turned in excited Sony Pictures so much that they had hoped that he'd be able to direct. But Goyer had a prior project in a miniseries, a sci-fi miniseries called, that's going to be on Sci-Fi. It's a sci-fi genre miniseries called Foundation. And he couldn't juggle both projects, so he's going to take Foundation on instead of Masters of the Universe. So he's not going to direct that. Now, this puts the project in jeopardy, since Sony actually has a release date for Masters of the Universe next year on December 18th. So, and they've already begun looking for actors to play the lead. Of course, the lead being He-Man. But they have to find a new director. Now, Goyer isn't the first director to drop out of the project either. When Sony Pictures picked up the rights in 2009, Warner Brothers was originally going to do this project. But they lost the rights to Sony Pictures in 2009. Sony had bought in John Stevenson, who was the director of Kung Fu Panda. That was until John M. Chu, the director of G.I. Joe Retaliation and the last half of the Step Up movies, he came on board, and he was attached for a while, but Sony put the movie through rewrites, and John M. Chu left, and that's when they bought in McG, who currently has The Babysitter, which he directed up on Netflix. He also directed Terminator Salvation. He directed Charlie's Angels movies. He was attached for a while as well until he dropped out last year, and the project has been kind of quiet since then, until, obviously Goyer came in to take over the script duties and was hired to direct. Now, at the moment, there is no name out there to take over the project. Obviously, Sony is looking. Probably, assume they would want to keep that release date and keep the project up and going. So we'll have to wait and see anything like that. Obviously, once I hear something, I'll post it up on the Facebook page, or we'll talk about it here on the podcast. Or both. We'll probably do both. But in the meantime, obviously, Masters of the Universe just can't catch a break. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how Sony handles that. So let's move on to the next movie news item, which is When I read this, part of me wanted to scream out and say why. So Michael Bay, yes, Michael Bay, is eyed to direct DC's Lobo. Now the Wrap, which broke the story, is reporting that Michael Bay is being eyed to direct his first ever comic book movie, by the way, in DC's Lobo. Now Bay has reportedly met with DC Films executives to discuss their project and offered some notes to the current screenwriter in Jason Fauch, who has written Pan and also had some writing duties on Wonder Woman, to incorporate some of his notes into the rewrite. Now, once the rewrite is done, they will then present the script to Bay, and then from there he'll make the decision to direct or not. Now, for those unfamiliar with Lobo or don't know who Lobo is, he is a blue-skinned, 7-foot-tall, very muscular anti-hero, and he's also a bounty hunter. And he became a fan favorite since his return run in the comics in the 90s when they gave him a biker kind of look. And since then, he's been, again, a fan favorite character for a while. And the project has been kicking around for a long time. Warner Brothers first put the project together in 2009, and they wanted Guy Ritchie, who of course he directed recently King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, and the Sherlock Holmes movies. They brought him in 2009 to develop a PG-13 movie on Lobo. And of course, this was before the DCEU. Now that version got put on the back burner, and then the project was revived thanks to Brad Payton, who directed San Andreas. He also was directing the upcoming Rampage. He came on board for a little while, and that's when Dwayne Johnson was being eyed for the role as well. And that all took place in 2012, I should say. And of course, Dwayne Johnson went on to go play Black Adam, or is going to play Black Adam in the Shazam movies, and have his own movie as well. But of course, nothing came from that, and Fauch has come on board to... Fauch wasn't attached at that point. He came on board to write the movie a couple years ago. So Lobo has slowly been working on over at Warner Brothers for a while. Now, when it comes to Michael Bay directing, I honestly don't know how I feel. I am borderline against it. I'm not even kidding. Bay has been directing, of course, the Transformers movies, which have not been very good. He's been stretching his reach. Credit to him, he has been stretching his reach. He's not directing all of them. Of course, he directed Pain and Gain back in 2013, which was okay, and then 13 Hours in 2016, which was also okay. But I'm not a Bay hater. Believe me, I am not a Bay hater. I really love his early work. I love The Rock, I love Armageddon, and I love Bad Boys. The first one. Second one's nah. But however, him directing a Lobo movie, I really don't know, and I haven't really gauged the fan reception of him directing a Lobo movie. I'm pretty sure there's people up there who support it, but again, just the way he handled Transformers, it just I don't know. I really don't know. But in fair point, I don't know who would be a good choice to direct a Lobo movie. Of course, it all depends on the kind of approach they want to take it. Do they want to take it, the fun route, or not necessarily the whole fun route? He is an alien bounty hunter, after all. Do they want to take it that route, or do they want to take it more like the gritty route, where he's just, he's a complete badass? I don't know. There's nothing on the approach of how they're going to do the movie, so we'll see. I really don't know. Michael, just imagine a Michael Bay directed Lobo movie that may or may not be connected to the DCEU. There's no mention of it being connected to the DCEU at all. So maybe this is going to be part of their solo movies. Speaking of which, nice little segue there. Yeah, you like that? Yeah. Joaquin Phoenix is being eyed to play the Joker in Todd Phillips' standalone Joker movie.
Say what?
Reports say that Joaquin Phoenix is being eyed to play the famed Batman villain, and Warner Brothers and Todd Phillips directed. He also co-wrote the movie co-writing the movie, by the way, with Scott Silver, who wrote The Fighter and The Finest Hours. So they're working on it together. Joker Origins movie. If you remember, last year it was announced that Warner Brothers and DC Films were looking to make solo, standalone movies that were not connected to the DCEU. One of them was a solo Joker movie. At the time when this first came out, Leonardo DiCaprio was being eyed to take over the role. However, it looks like they have moved on from him, and they are now attached to Joaquin Phoenix. Now, the report does note that studio negotiations are not yet underway, but Todd Phillips has made it clear that Phoenix is his top choice, and apparently the two had a meeting together before the new year, and we're just waiting on the studio's go-ahead. Now, this isn't, of course, the first time that Phoenix has been eyed for a DC or comic book role in general. Phoenix was eyed for Doctor Strange for a long time until, of course, Benedict Cumberbatch got the role because Joaquin Phoenix passed on it. He was also eyed for, like I mentioned, another DC villain, Lex Luthor. He would have played him in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Of course, he passed on that as well. So Joaquin Phoenix is someone that the studios have really been just wanting to get in a comic book movie for a while, and they just haven't found it. And it looks like maybe Todd Phillips has finally gotten it settled down. Now, the film itself is said that it will take a look at how the Joker became the mastermind criminal, and sources even say the story will take place in 80s Gotham, and will have more of a gritty crime drama more than a comic book movie. Now, they once again stress that the movie will not affect Jared Leto's DCU connected Joker, and that Jared Leto will not make an appearance. Now, I don't know how to feel about a Joaquin Phoenix Joker. I'm sure he'll knock it out of the park if the script is good. But Warner Brothers and DC are having a hard enough time getting their main universe set up, and now they want to create a separate universe that are standalone movies on top of that. I don't know. Also, nowhere in the report is Martin Scorsese mentioned. Now, the early reports when this first was announced, besides Leonardo DiCaprio's name being attached, Martin Scorsese was also being eyed or in talks to produce the movie, but it doesn't look like that's the case anymore. Maybe him and Leo were a package deal, and when Leo dropped out, Scorsese left. I don't know. Now, despite this new news, there is still no projected start date at the moment. I don't know how I feel. Like I mentioned, I'm sure that Joaquin Phoenix will probably knock it out of the park, depending on, what their approach is and depending on how the script is. And if they can get Joaquin Phoenix locked down, I think that would be great. My only thing right now is that obviously if this happens and if he knocks it out of the park, what's going to happen to Jared Leto's Joker if he blows him out of the water? Because obviously not everyone is a fan of Jared Leto's Joker. I am not a fan of Jared Leto's Joker. I applaud them doing something different, but I'm not a fan of it. And of course, this is kind of an origin Joker movie, so obviously he's going to be his own Joker, and we're going to have to judge his Joker differently than the Jared Leto Joker, as we should, and we're going to have to judge him differently from the Heath Ledger Joker, and the Jack Nicholson Joker, and all the others, the Cesar Romano Joker. We're going to have to judge all these Jokers differently, as we should with every character that someone plays. So, but I don't know how I feel. It's different. I think I'm indifferent into it because DC wants to do all these movies while they're still trying to figure out their main universe. How about you figure out that first before you start doing all these other things? And I think that's the reason why I'm so indecisive on the news. Like I mentioned, I'm sure Joaquin Phoenix will knock it out of the park, but if he signs on, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. All right, so let's move on to some more movie news items. Atomic Blonde and Deadpool 2 director is being eyed for the Fast and the Furious spin-off with Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham. That is some pretty interesting and cool news. David Leitch, I think that's how you say his last name, or Lech. I actually don't know how to pronounce his last name. He is a director of Atomic Blonde and the upcoming Deadpool 2. He also co-directed John Wick. He is in early talks to direct the Fast and the Furious spin-off that will star Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Jason Statham as their characters of Hobbs and Deckard Shaw. The movie will also be written by Chris Morgan, who has written all the scripts for the movies since Tokyo Drift. So it's a little mini reunion there as well. Now, there's no word yet on what the movie will actually be about. So there was early rumors suggesting that maybe The duo will hunt down Charlize Theron's Cypher from The Fate of the Furious. However, that rumor has seemed to die down just a little bit for now. So we'll have to wait and see how that kind of plays out. As for Leach, I'm just going to pronounce it Leach because that's how I said it first. Although I'm very sure that's not how you say it. He's a former stuntman turned director. Of course, surely he made his name for himself directing John Wick, or co-directing John Wick, I should say. Atomic Blonde was a modest hit at the box office, although there's a lot of people out there who love the movie, and I am one of them. Although I will agree it kind of drags on a little bit, but it's still very good. That one take fight scene was or action scene, that whole bit was just amazing. Deadpool 2, of course, one of the most highly anticipated movies of the year, which we talked about earlier. He's directing that. He's also, like I mentioned, he's known for his one takes. John Wick had some one takes. Atomic Blonde had some one takes. Maybe Deadpool 2 will have some one takes. Maybe this will have some one takes action scenes. And I will totally be in the theater just enjoying that and just waving my arms in the air like, yeah, this is awesome. So I'm a huge fan of his. I love what he's done so far. Like John Wick, Atomic Blonde, Deadpool 2 looks amazing. If he does this will be kind of cool. He's also a name that's been attached to some other projects or being eyed to direct some other projects. So he is obviously a director that studios really want to be a part of them. And if you want to do an action movie, you kind of get him a little bit. You know what? I think maybe he would actually be a good director for Lobo. Now that I'm talking about it, so I don't know. But I hope they get him because he's great in it, and I think his take on everything with Dwayne Johnson's Hobbs and Jason Statham's Deckard Shaw, I think that would be a really good dream match and a good team up to have all those three guys in one movie connected. I think that would be really cool. So hopefully he gets the job. But right now he's just in early talks, so we'll see how that works out. The movie is going to come out because they have a release date of July 26, 2019, which was originally going to be Fast and the Furious 9's release date, but they bumped that back for this. So we'll have to. Hopefully the wait will be worth it, and hopefully the move will be worth it because I'm actually looking forward to this. I know there's a lot of people being like, "Oh, does he deserve his own movie?" Have these two. These two are honestly the best part of the Fate and the Furious. So yes, they need their own movie. So hopefully this works out for them. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Alright, so the big movie news item of the week and the last movie news item of the week, at least at the time of this recording. Obviously, if anything drops, it will go up on the Facebook page, and we'll probably talk about it next week. Game of Thrones creators and writers are set to write a new series of Star Wars movies. Now, the creators and writers of the hit HBO series Game of Thrones have a new big gig when Game of Thrones ends. David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, I think that's how you say his name, have signed on to write a new series of Star Wars films. The series will be separate from the episodic Star Wars, or for the episodic Skywalker saga, I should say, which of course will end with Episode 9 next year, and will also be separate from the new series trilogy that Rian Johnson, who of course directed Star Wars: The Last Jedi, is developing. So this is a whole different series they're doing. I don't know if it's going to be, maybe it will be a new series of standalone stories. We don't know what's going on. We don't have a lot to go on. It's just they're writing a new series. So the duo released a joint statement saying, quote, "In the summer of 1977, we traveled a galaxy far, far away, and we've been dreaming of it ever since. We are honored by the opportunity, a little terrified by the responsibility, and so excited to get started as soon as the final season of Game of Thrones is complete." Disney CEO Bob Iger also commented on the news, admitting that the duo came to them with the idea a while ago, and he also added that they are, quote, "focused on a point of time in the Star Wars mythology," end quote. And of course, Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy commented on the duo coming on, saying, "David and Dan are some of the best storytellers working today. Their command of complex characters, depth in story, and richness of mythology will break new ground and boldly push Star Wars in ways I find incredibly exciting," end quote. There's currently no timetable for when the film will be, film or films will be written by these two, or when they'll go into production. But considering that they're busy with Game of Thrones, and once that series finally starts airing, they'll probably be promoting it and doing all this other stuff for the series. So it'll probably be a while before we hear anything concrete about these two. I, for one, am very excited about the potential of what could be. I know there's people speculating what they could possibly be doing. I'm pretty sure there's some people hoping that they take on the Knights of the Old Republic storyline, which could probably be really cool, especially considering what they've done on Game of Thrones and what that whole storyline. If you don't know anything about the Knights of the Old Republic, I highly recommend you go read some stuff about that. But I'm very excited for it. I know there's people out there that weren't excited about it, and I think one of the reasons people weren't excited about it is because a lot of people were disappointed by the last season of Game of Thrones. They were also disappointed by the fact that there was a show that was in development. It wasn't going to happen. They were developing a TV series that was very controversial, that was basically going to say that there was still slavery in the world. So that was kind of their the pitch of the show that everyone took away from, and there was a lot of people obviously very, very worth the outrage for people that were outraged about it. I'm not saying they didn't deserve to be outraged, but these two, think of what they've done with Game of Thrones. It is amazing that they were able to do this, to have a show that has just broken every mold of what a TV show should be, and how Game of Thrones. I mean, you ask anyone, people know what Game of Thrones is, even if they don't watch it. They know what Game of Thrones is. So I'm very excited to see what they do. I don't know what they're gonna do, and I think it's causing a lot of people to be very suspect of what's going to happen. Again, I'm very excited to see what the potential of what they could be doing. Again, we don't know if it's a new episodic series. That's what Rian Johnson's doing. Rian Johnson, again, the director of Star Wars The Last Jedi, which of course was very divided amongst the fan base. He's developing a new episodic saga. So I'm only assuming that maybe Benioff and Weiss is they're doing maybe the new series of standalone movies. I don't know what they're doing. Again, they didn't release anything. They're not saying anything, which is fine. But it's up in the air of what they're gonna do right now. So it's very, very cool. I'm excited for the potential of what it could be. Maybe it won't be good. Who knows? But I know there's a lot of people out there that are just like, they were very disappointed that these guys are doing it because they were disappointed by the last season of Game of Thrones. And to that I say, writing Game of Thrones and writing a Star Wars movie is very different. And also, Kathleen Kennedy is there. Kathleen Kennedy has been known to tell people to put people on projects that, if they're not behind her vision and the vision of Lucasfilm, that she has no problem firing them, even if the movie is already almost done filming. So settle down. I think this is good news, and we'll see what happens. Now, of course, the other thing about this news item is that there are 2 more white people writing a Star Wars movie and behind the scenes of everything, which that's a whole nother conversation. And that's a conversation for another time in the podcast, but I will put it out there for you guys to discuss. We'll talk about that somewhere down the line as well, here on the podcast, because that is a conversation we probably should be having, but not right now because I'm looking outside my window and it's snowing like crazy outside, so I'm just thinking about shoveling right now. So let's move on. That's all the movie news. Again, if anything big drops, of course, it will go on the Facebook page. And if it's big enough, of course, we'll talk about it on the podcast next week. So let's move on to this week's movie releases.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
So we got one real big limited release that I want to mention. We got a few limited releases, but I think the bigger one of the limited releases is a Spanish movie. It's La Boda de Valentina, which is the wedding of Valentina, which is the literal translation of it. So I saw the trailer for this movie, I think last month. No, actually, I saw the trailer for the first time a couple weeks ago when I went to go see The Maze Runner. For whatever reason, it was in front of The Maze Runner. So the movie is basically Valentina. She is getting married to someone, to her boyfriend, and the boyfriend wants to meet, or at this point, the fiance wants to meet the family. She's very embarrassed of the family. She doesn't want them to meet the family. And then, of course, the ex comes along, and it starts a little competition between the fiance and the ex, and of course, Valentina's pressure of, does she want to still? I assume the pressure of, does she still want to marry her fiance, or does she still have feelings for the ex deep down? So it was a very intriguing trailer, to say the least. But that is one of the limited releases this week for you guys to go watch. Let's move on to the wide releases. We have 3 wide releases, very different from each other, very, very different from each other. So the first wide release we're going to talk about is Peter Rabbit. It is the animated comedic take on the classic, of course, Beatrix Potter tale and character. The movie follows Peter Rabbit, voiced by James Corden, who tries to make Mr. McGregor, played by Domhnall Gleeson in this movie, his life a living hell after he closes the gates to his vegetable garden and tries to kick him out of the forest. I don't know who this movie's targeted for, because this is not the Peter Rabbit that I grew up with, and not the Peter Rabbit that I ever imagined would get a movie. So I'm all for taking different approaches to movies and characters and stories, but this is one I can't get behind of. So just leave it at that. Let's move on to the next movie, which is 50 Shades Freed. Of course, the third movie in the 50 Shades of whatever the first one was called. I forgot. 50 Shades of Grey series. I don't care. This movie's not targeted toward me either. It's not targeted toward me. And the trailers are just, I've seen the trailer a couple times in front of a movie, and every time I see it, I'm like, why is this still a thing? And I'm seeing a bunch of TVs. I can't watch TV anymore without a trailer or a TV spot coming on. Maybe I'm just watching the wrong show, I guess. It's not targeted toward me. I don't know what to say. It's just not targeted toward me. Alright, so there's 50 Shades Freed, and the final movie coming out this week for all your viewing pleasures is the 1517 to Paris. It's directed by Clint Eastwood and based on the true story and event that happened in 2015. 3 American soldiers stopped a terrorist attack on the train bound to Paris. And an added bonus, Clint Eastwood has cast the real heroes of that attack to essentially pretty much reenact their heroics from that day. The movie's getting some pretty mixed reactions, but everyone, I think, is from what I can see, everyone's really applauding that Eastwood made the decision to cast these real life heroes in to basically, again, reenact what they did that day. I am going to go watch this. Clint Eastwood is, of course, one of those directors where when a movie pops up, you pay attention because it could be very good. So yeah, I'm going to go watch it. I don't know if it's going to be any good. Again, the reception has been pretty mixed. Some people are very on the fence. Some people really like it, and some people don't really like it. So it's going to be very interesting to kind of see how that plays out. But again, I'm more intrigued to seeing how Eastwood's decision, I can't speak now, decision to put these guys in those roles as themselves will pay off. So there you go. Those are your week. Oh wow. Oh man, I'm gonna leave that in because I'm not gonna edit that out. Those are your releases for the week. We have 50 Shades Freed, Peter Rabbit, and 1517 to Paris as your wide releases. Your limited release that I highlighted this week is La Boda de Valentina. That's it, guys. That's all the movie news I have for you guys. That's all the trailers and movies that are coming out this week. That's it. That's all I got. So again, if anything big drops after this podcast comes out, you are more than welcome and free. Please go check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/moviepit. That's facebook.com/moviepit. Again, there's a link down below in the description/show notes area. There's a bunch of other stuff down there as well if you want to go check that out. We have all the movie trailer links are down there. We also have that interview with Emilia Clarke about her her Solo, a Star Wars story character. We also have the Twitter pages. The Twitter page, my personal Twitter and Instagram are down there. Also, the Twitter page for the podcast is up there. That is at Movie Pit Podcast. That's at Movie Pit Podcast. Again, the screen name is down there if you want to go just copy and paste that to your browser. But it's at Movie Pit Podcast on Twitter. I'm trying to update the Twitter page as much as possible, but I'm doing it off my phone, so it kind of gets a little hard to do that sometimes. But yeah, so I will try. I'm always trying to update the Twitter page as much as I try to update the Facebook page as much as possible. Facebook page is always getting updated, so there is that. But Twitter page will be getting some more action from me in the future. Also down there is the link to my WordPress account, which is where I do all my written reviews. I have not done any written review for the year so far. That will change next week when we talk about Black Panther. But yeah, there's stuff. There is stuff over there. There's a monthly preview of the month of the movies that are coming out this month. For whatever reason, I couldn't talk. So there is that. But again, the written reviews will be coming back starting next week with Black Panther for sure. They're all spoiler free, so you don't have to worry about spoilers in my reviews, because I never spoil anything in my reviews. Much like I don't spoil things here on the podcast. So this is a spoiler free zone unless I specify otherwise. And yeah, that's it. So it's whatever other stuff I decide to put down there, it's there. So, while you're also down there, you'll also notice that there are links to the iTunes and YouTube. So, if you're listening to this on YouTube, disregard that YouTube link, but you can also go check out the iTunes link. The podcast is on iTunes. I would really appreciate it if you go subscribe. That means you will get the podcast as soon as it's available on iTunes. It's a weekly podcast, so it always comes out on Friday. The times always vary because of editing and internet connection, stuff like that. But and life, of course. But yeah, there's a link down there. Please go check out the iTunes, subscribe there, leave me a rating and review. I'd really appreciate it. It would really help out the podcast in the long run as well. Also, if you leave me a rating and review, I will read it on the podcast as soon as it pops up, because sometimes the app is a little slow. But yeah, do that, please. I'd really appreciate it. So if you're listening to this on YouTube or SoundCloud, most up on SoundCloud as well, go check out iTunes. If you're listening to this on iTunes and it's just easier for you there, you do you. Just anywhere you can listen to it, just please listen to the podcast. Give me some feedback. I really appreciate it. Thank you for that. And thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to me blabber for the last, 2 minutes? So that's it. That's all I got. This little part, I've been blabbing for a good hour or so. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I really appreciate it. If you are in the snowstorm path, please be careful. Again, I'm looking at my window. I'm in the Chicagoland area, so it's snowing like crazy right now. Please be careful. Stay safe. If you don't need to leave your house, do not leave your house, please. It's crazy out there, so just be safe, keep warm, be careful, be safe, but more importantly, as always, enjoy your weekend, and hopefully you had a good week, hopefully you have a good weekend. I will see you here next week, where we will talk about Black Panther, because I am going to go see it soon. I'm going to go see it on Thursday, and we'll definitely talk about it on the podcast. So yeah, we'll talk about Black Panther, we'll talk about all the other movie news that drops, we'll talk about all the trailers that drop next week. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And go check out everything down below in the description/show notes area. And that's it. Thank you guys. Have a safe, fun weekend. And as always, go watch some movies.
Whoop whoop! Yeah! Give it up! Movies!